Welcome back to the Tiberium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about my top 10 Masterpiece Transformers of 2021. Yes, here we are ending out the year with a bang, and I only have the Masterpiece figures that I picked up that I can really talk about. I can really put those on this list, so if I miss anything that you thought was really great, comment down below. I might want to check it out in the future. And some of the stuff is reissue. I only have 2 slots for reissue. I have another questionable slot, and I also have some honorable mentions and a dishonorable mention. We're going to talk about all this coming up. Alright, so number 10 on the list is the X-Transbots Minosaur, their trailer. It's really just a trailer, and this is only on the list because it actually is done. We actually got to see a Minosaur from X-Transbots this year. The only reason this is even on the list is because it is done. You have your Minosaur, and after the aftermath of transforming that thing, I'm happy that I have it. It's on my shelf. It looks good. It looks great. I enjoy it. I don't really handle it that much. I just look at it, and it looks good. So they did do some good things with this set, but they overcomplicated it. And the reason that it's at 10 is really for 2 reasons. This base mode was completely unnecessary, but it's something that they're the only ones that are doing this. Really, we don't know what Fans Toys is up to, but I don't think Fans Toys is going to mess with this. Had they skipped this step and made it more straightforward, it would have been a better transformation and a more solid figure. But mine didn't break. One panel popped off, it popped right back on. That wasn't a break, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But this base mode really hurt this release. So number 10 is the Minosaur, and stick a fork in it because X-Transbot's done. Well, actually, they're reissuing a lot of different versions and colorations of this. So number 9 on my list is the Fans Toys Bugs, and the reason that they're low on the list is because they're reissued. This is nothing new, but they deserve to be on the list because it is good that they're reissuing. Some of these were going for $300, $400, $500 each on their own, and now you can get them. Well, they're low on the list because of the fact that the value play that they carry. Each bug was $150 for the reissue, and in some places even more. Now they're kind of on sale, but the fact that they were so expensive and almost double the original MSRP from back in the day was kind of killer. You can get an entire set of Bad Cube or MMC for what it costs you to get one Fans Toys Bug. Number 9, Fans Toys Bug reissues. So number 8 on the list here is MP44, the KO. And yeah, people are going to get mad that I put a KO on the list. Well, I don't really care, because I like that I have them, and for an affordable price, I have one already transformed into alt mode, and I don't have to mess with trying to transform MP44 for size comparisons and all of that. Also on top of it, it's 2 different representations. I think there's 3 or 4 different color variations that are coming, and I got the one with the white legs and the silver legs. The silver legs is actually on sale for $95. $95 instead of the $328 to $450 people were paying for before. That's actually a really good value. Now, it lacks the paint. It's not as good as the original, and they did fix some things here and some things there, but overall, it's a solid representation for a really good price, around the $100 mark, instead of 3 to 4 times that for the original, and I'm glad they made it, and I'm glad they keep making them. Number 7 on my list is the Giga Power Gigasaur Dino reissues, and so I did review both of these guys. I spent the better part of a week working on that, and I spent the better part of the week working on the bugs too, and I think that was kind of fun. And with this though, my biggest concern with transforming these and reviewing these was not scratching the chrome. The chrome back metallized on these look amazing. They look beautiful. These are excellent figures. I'm all in on Giga Power. They're big, massive, beefy. They are a bit stylized, but they still capture G1 very well. The essence of G1 is here. The alt modes look great. The transformations are sort of simplistic. They're not overly engineered. They have a lot of different options for posability, options for display. It really works out. And when it comes to Dinobots, I think it's still a 50-50 split between people who display them in Dino mode or bot mode. I'm a bot mode guy, but there's a lot of Dino mode guys out there, collectors out there, and they look great. Okay, so getting into number 6 on my list, we're getting into Purple Potato. And I have to say that the Purple Potato was better than I thought it would be in a few ways, and it disappointed me in a few ways. So what really made me like it better is that it really looks like a decent Shockwave. It's like factor everything out, you get this guy, you put him on your shelf, he's a decent Shockwave, and he would fill the gap. And I didn't realize, but it just seems like there's really very few Shockwave options out there. There's the original, there's Cloud9, and now this. And I think there might be a few others, but this does capture the essence of a G1. It would work for G1, and it has something else going for it. The alt mode, I believe it's called the Revenge. I keep forgetting. Anyway, the alt mode looks amazing. The transformation is a little fiddly. It's weird because the round end, everything has to be squared on the round tail of it. That's the weird part about this transformation. Squared, round part. Everything on the inside needs to be square to make the round round. So that was really the only problem or challenge with the transformation of this. Aside from the rest, it was pretty intuitive aside from that. Now, looking at it, though, it looks amazing. It looks exactly like you would expect from the movie. And next to, say, a Unicron display, maybe a HasLab Unicron display, it looks phenomenal. I really do like it. The downside is the lack of paint. I really thought it was going to be a shiny metallic paint. It's a flat plastic, and it's not shiny metallic paint, and I was not expecting that. So that's my disappointment. It would have been higher on the list if it wasn't for that. So number 5 on my list is Fans Toys Smokey. And I think it's a pretty solid figure. It's a pretty solid bot. It's everything you expect from Fans Toys for a Stunticon and for just a standard release. And that's one of the things, every one of these Stunticons and aerial bots they put out feel like a solid Fans Toys release. But it's kind of one of those catch-22s because this is a very solid, hefty figure, and may that be part of the problem? Why they're holding up their trailer or their combiner parts or whatever Fans Toys is going to do to combine it, because they are not putting out all the combiner parts and finishing up this. Is it because the arms are so heavy? And this guy is heavy. This is a very toon representation. The alt mode's toon, the bot mode's toon. It's very clean. It looks good. Transformation's okay. I do kind of feel like they complicate the transformations a bit on the Stunticons, but nowhere near as bad as what X-Transbot's doing with their fuzz. We'll be talking about that. But this is a nice representation. Both modes look good. Transformation's okay. It works. It looks great, but it's got some weight. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me here, but I actually like the DX9's version, their drag strip. They call it drag strip. Maybe there's another name for it now. But I like it better, so it's number 4 on my list than the Fans Toys. I think it looks more interesting. I think that with all of the paint apps and everything that's got going on with it, it does look better than the Fans Toys one, so I do like that. And also the fact that it's a little bit more lightweight. Now, if you feel them in your hands, you'd say, well, Fans Toys feels better. But for a combiner doing its job, I think it gets the job done. He gets the job done as a combiner, and he's also part of a combiner that's completed, and that's one I can check that box off and move on. I'm still waiting on some stuff for Fans Toys, but just the individual release, I think this does its job well. I actually don't know how well Fans Toys Smokies will be as an arm. Again, I'm a toon guy, but I kind of like the color break up in this a little bit more. Don't so much like the face peeking out of the driver's seat, but it's a nice looking alt mode. It gets the job done. It works, and I like the other gold accents on all of that stuff to give it a little bit more flair. So number 3 on my list is the Takara MP52 Starscream 3.0 that they call 2.0. We went into all that. Now, I actually like the figure. I think that the design is good. The transformation is okay. It's not horrible. It's not rough. And that's one of the good things about it, the saving grace. I do feel it's a little bit short, and in hand, the darker color doesn't stand out as much as it does in the pictures, but overall, I still think it looks pretty good. It gets the job done. I would prefer a taller one but I'm not getting rid of this. I'm not getting rid of this guy. He's on my list because he's solid, and I like him, and I look forward to reviewing the KOs in the form of Skywarp, Thundercracker, and all of them when they come in. And here's the alt mode. The alt mode is pretty solid, smooth, sleek, and I actually think this is better than the competition that's out there that they have right now. It's a really solid alt mode. Some people disagree with that one too, but I do like the alt mode. It gets the job done, and maybe you're going to drop, $250, $260 each on these to have some good alt modes. Alright, so number 2 on my list is the Deformation Space Crimson Wing Starscream. So, followed up by another Starscream. And there's a lot of competition this year. But I do want to say that this looks great, and it kind of blows my mind how a company can come out of nowhere, which they probably are part of Black Mamba, like people are saying. They probably are associated with Transform Element and all of that, but they come out of the gate with a really solid release. I like it. I like the size. I like the aesthetic. I like the paint. Now, a couple of the negatives on it: the paint gets scratched and chipped and worn here and there. So the fact that it's so well painted is a plus and a minus. The alt mode does look pretty good though, so there's that. It does come with a bunch of options for display with opening cockpit and all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool. I do think the MP52 has a few more options in the alt mode, and their alt mode is still good. Both alt modes are great, but again, the transformation. When you get into the transformation of this thing, a lot of people complain about it, and I thought it was kind of crazy at first, but then it just seems like once you've done it once, then the second time it's not so bad. The first time is mind-blowing. Second time is like, okay, I remember doing this, so boom, it's done. So not as bad, and when I get into reviewing some of the other ones that are coming in, we'll get to see if I still feel that way. So before I get into my number one of the year, I'm going to talk about my honorable mentions here, and it's honorable mentions moving into dishonorable mentions, but Dr. Egg is actually a pretty solid release, and it didn't make the list because it is just, I think it's a little bit too big. I think they put too much into it and charged too much for it. You do have that kind of hang-up issue that a lot of people do have, and I had it at first, and now I've kind of overcome that on my copy, but you also have to source some really strange battery to make it work, and a lot of people had problems with that. So there's a lot of weird things with this, but if you do everything right and you get it to work, it's a phenomenal figure, and it really just kind of stands there, rotates, and does its stuff. But the other one is Locke, and I just reviewed the reissue version 2. The picture here is the version 1, and I have to say they didn't do actual promotional picture art on the version 2 that I've seen. So there's the promotional art picture on the version 1. The version 1 was riddled with a lot of QC problems, breakage here and there, and they came out, the revised one is better. The transformation's still a bear, not so much fun, but nothing broke, and very little page scratch. There's a little bit, very little so far on my copy. I really am pleased. It's almost day and night from what they put out before, what they put out at the end. They've remolded some stuff. They're on the way to doing a good job with all these future releases, hopefully. Dishonorable mention for Fuzz. I gotta tell you that I think this is a terrible transformation, and again, they put too much into it. They wanted to have all the doors open and all these different features to it, which I understand all that, but for what you get, for what, it's a $100 figure, yeah, it's great. I hope that future releases are not this overly complicated to where, I don't even know if I've got the arms in there right, because it doesn't close up 100% perfect. So most people couldn't even finish transforming this thing. Not that it's bad QC, it's just really strange transformation that doesn't really make sense, not intuitive at all whatsoever, and so for that, all it's going to be is a leg on my Defensor. So number one on my list is Robot Paradise Fans Toys Acoustic Wave, and I want to say that it's been almost a decade waiting on this figure, and I'm a huge Soundwave fan. I love Soundwave, and this is everything I need in a Soundwave. And actually, the Takara one was pretty good, but I think this one wins. Hands down, this one definitely wins. I thought it was really cool that they added in some parts so you can have it with the toy look, or just give it a little bit more of interesting look, instead of just having a super tune and super bland. I like mine super tune and super bland on this particular character, which is kind of odd. It's not how I felt on Dragstrip, but on this one, I really like it as close to tune as possible, and I think that having the options is really good, and it really didn't cost them that much more to add a few more swappable pieces to design that in, and that really works. I'm so glad they didn't put out their original design and they went back and redesigned it. The original design was okay for the time. This is a modern sculpt that they put out with this figure, and I think it's really smart, but they also held on to some of these aspects of the original. You can see it, and they also use it in their artwork. And the transformation isn't fun. I think the Takara one is a little easier, a little bit more fun, but it's not as bad as you're used to expecting with Fans Toys, and so I was kind of pleasantly surprised in that regard. And with this having the cassette, I'm looking forward to the other 3 cassettes and all of the stuff that's going along with this. Really excited. Hopefully they do a blaster and they do many, many more cassettes in the future. So what do you think about my list, and what else is on here that I should have put on here? Obviously I can only talk about what I've reviewed myself, and I've had in hand, so I'm interested in what else was awesome that got released in 2021 that I missed out on. Let me know in the comments below, like and subscribe. Damn Hanger out.